your background, if you don't mind?
Yeah, sure. Dia, do you want me to go first?
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Oh, okay. So yeah, my name is Tim. I got my bachelor degree in international business in Xiamen University.
Okay.
And then after a couple of years work in China, I came to US to get my master degree. I earned a master degree in human resources management from Cornell University. And after graduated, I work in a startup as a HR specialist. And a few months ago, I joined Qualcomm, work as an HR specialist.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And why are you in CIAM? What are you pursuing?
Oh, so for CIAM, so I always want to get more exposure to like business side and like data analytics. So that's why I want to get a degree in MBA. And also, you know, there's a function in HR called HRIS. So it basically deal with the system and you know, the data in HR field. So I'm also interested in this function as well. So that's why I chose a BA as my concentration.
Got it. Cool. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Hi, this is Leah. So I did my undergrad in University of Kentucky, majored in humanities and literature. And then after that, went to USC for a master's degree in marketing. And I am currently working as a data analyst for WPP, the advertising agency. And our client is Microsoft, so doing their kind of web dev and user testing stuff day to day. And I'm enrolled in this business analytics track at CIM because my job requires me to kind of learn new skills and new analytical tools all the time. So really excited to be here.
Awesome. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Leah. And by the way, for maybe this is more for Tim. I actually live only 2 hours away from Cornell. My wife and I, we both live in upstate New York.
Oh, really?
Yes. So we are very close to Cornell. We are kind of in the Albany area.
So, I see.
From Ithaca. Okay. So with that, I will also like to introduce myself briefly. You both have really fantastic background. So this is just my education. Usually I, don't need to talk about my education because sometimes after a while education is not relevant. But last year I got my master's degree from UC Berkeley in data decision analytics, and also this coming year, this fall, I will be getting a computer science degree from Georgia Tech. And I want to comment a little bit on my undergraduate degree as well. So I grew up not super smart. I actually didn't like math at all. That's why in college I studied statistics. And besides statistics, I also study a really cool major. I really think this is a wonderful major, industrial engineering and operations research. It has a really long name, and don't be afraid by this name. And I would describe it as a lot of people from, at least from Berkeley, if they are industrial engineering major, they will not, maybe half of them will not admit they are engineers. Okay, so what that means is we actually don't do a lot of engineering stuff. You can understand industrial engineering operations research as a combination of the technical engineering knowledge with business analytics. Okay, so it's almost like applying risk analysis on the engineering side and with a business goal. This is, and I think this is a kind of similar of what you two, Leah and Tim, while you are pursuing a CIAM, it's kind of, you're not only learning the technical side about data analytics. I don't know what exactly you're learning, but I assume you will be touching some technical things of data analytics. But you also want to combine that with the business side. So you both have a really good and really strong business background. So so I think you know what I'm talking about. Some people really like the technical side, so they will stay only the technical side. Some people really like the business side. I like the combination of both, and I'll talk about it in the chat today. Okay, so, and these are the places I have been to so far in my life working. So since undergraduate, as an undergraduate student, I began to work at the business school at UC Berkeley Haas. And when I graduated, they actually created a new position just so they can keep me for a few more months full time. And right now, they still have that position. So after about 3-4 years, I already am not in Haas anymore, but they are still having that full-time position. So I kind of created that headcount for them to pay for that position, and then that position is still there. I was working there as a data analyst. And then for a few months, I was working at LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a really good company, probably the best company I have been to so far. And it was the time before Microsoft acquired LinkedIn. Okay, so actually the very last day of my day at LinkedIn, the next business day, it was announced that Microsoft would acquire LinkedIn. Okay, so
Oh, wow.
I just missed the acquisition. The big side effect, for your information, if you're interested to work in tech like LinkedIn, just a few months, I gained 20 pounds working at LinkedIn. They really fed me super well. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You know, those days I didn't have to worry about what to eat. I just need to go to work. And then I see all of us are Asian here. You know, they serve varieties of food. So for breakfast, they actually have porridge, and different kinds of porridge a day. So
That's awesome.
And by the way, besides porridge, I actually don't know how this is called in English. Besides porridge, they also have youtiao every day. So that's amazing. You know, you don't get that a lot, even in California, right? California, we have a lot of Asian population, but you know, we don't get that kind of food. So you can understand why I gained 20 pounds. After 4 years, now I am back in shape. Okay, so I recently just got off those 20 pounds. Okay, and then after LinkedIn, I work at Pericom MD. Maybe you have heard of this brand. If you haven't heard of this brand, that's okay. It's an anti-aging brand, and it's targeting people who are 50 years or older. So it's normal for us not to hear about this brand. I really enjoy my time there, and I'll talk about a lot of example I'll talk about in this slide actually comes from Pericom MD. And my current job, I work in DocuSign, and I don't know, do you all know DocuSign? Have you heard of DocuSign?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, DocuSign. Maybe
yeah, I use it all the time.
You use it all the time. Yes, because it's you know, very easy to do long distance signing for e-signature. I am there serving currently as a senior business intelligence developer. And very recently, I accepted a role of mentorship at Springboard. Springboard is like, you can think of it as a bootcamp program, kind of. It teaches computer science, data analytics, and data science. I'm currently a mentor for data analytics. I have 8 mentees. So I have been a lot of interaction with them during the week and helping them to get through the course. Okay, so that's kind of my industry experience. And next, I want to talk about DocuSign. And so DocuSign, a lot of us, we thought of DocuSign as just an e-signature company, but officially, okay, the employees are trained to talk about DocuSign in the following ways. Ready? Okay, so DocuSign actually is a agreement cloud company. What that means is it's not just handling for the e-signature. It's actually the entire process of how we handle this term of agreement. So from preparing the contract, signing the contract, acting on the contract, and how you manage the contract. So it's that entire process. And DocuSign has, by default, out of the box, it has 350 pre-built integrations with many companies' softwares. A few examples would be Salesforce. That's one of them. Salesforce is a very big CRM company. And we also have other APIs that are connected to other tech companies' softwares. And a highlight here is DocuSign kind of took the advantage of pandemic. So I actually took this screenshot this morning. The stock price is a little bit lower than this right now, just about $2 lower. Since the pandemic, if we take the date of March 11th, the stock price was at $75, and today we kind of officially double that amount since the pandemic started. So it's a company that is like the title I put down here, still hiring, acquiring, and achieving record high results. And we are still hiring. I think we are still expanding. By the end of this year, we will still expand by 25%. So it's a company that is still growing very strong. And DocuSign is ranked number 3 best place to work very recently. And I think with the pandemic, it's probably going to stay with number 3, if not higher. It's a little sad that to see, you know, number 4 is followed by In-N-Out. But anyways, let's focus on DocuSign. It's one of the top 3. And I want to share with you just the email we got from our CEO today. Just kind of important. I think all of us know what is going on in our nations right now. So this is a message from the DocuSign CEO today with the subject of Black Lives Matter. Let's agree to do better. And in this email, he encouraged the employees to read the public commitment of DocuSign to this kind of the civil rights issue, we can say that, or equality. And also he mentioned about the donation that we are making to a few of these nonprofit organizations. We're donating $500,000, and with an addition that if any employees donate to them, the company will double match any of the employees' donation. Okay, so with that, let's talk about my path in data analytics. And I will try to make it brief because in this slide, I want to hopefully for you to have some takeaways. So it's not going to talk about anything in very granular details. Maybe next time, okay, if I'm invited back. But okay, my path in data analytics, there was a major switch and a major switch of focus. And I will talk to you about my previous focus. My previous focus was focusing on something I would say is nice to know. Like nice to know, it's not bad. It's not bad, okay? So don't get me wrong. We call this insights. Okay, a lot of people like insights today, right? When we talk about data, we say, okay, show me, the insights. Let's present the insights. Let's dig out the insights from the data set. Okay, so that's really good. And what are the insights? These are just a few examples of what insights could be. Could be data visualization. How can we visualize the data so that the data makes sense and data tells a story? It can be a trend, right? Where are we going? And also the future prediction. These are examples of insights. And what I would also call these nice to know. And you know what? When we present these nice to know to our managers, to our boss, to the executives, they will say, well, this information are cool. But then they usually will follow with a question. They will ask, so what? So how does this information help me to make decisions? How can I apply this to my day-to-day operations or to my hiring, Tim, you work at HR. So I'm sorry, it was Leah who worked at, wait, I got confused. Oh, no, it was Tim, right? Tim, you work at HR. So in the hiring process, right? So how can you make decisions? And so this is what they usually ask. So I like to link from nice to know to so what. And my major switch was from nice to know to something I would describe as need to know. Need to know is, without a better term, I call it actionable insights, okay? Basically, these are still insights, but these are like the cream of insights, helping companies to make actionable decisions. And what these could be, these are just examples, not any real cases. So it could be a suggestions, it could be action plans, it could be you will end up Y if you do X. So these are things that the company will need to know as they move forward. And so these need to know will lead to what I call decisions. When I saw this, or when I learned about this, or picked this up from my career, I realized I need to switch my focus. The nice to know is really good. It's probably the bottom line for anyone to get a job in data analytics, right? Working as a data scientist or data analyst. But the need to know part is what really distinguish your work from any other data analyst. Okay, and the next slide, let me see, oh God. Okay, and I think there are two incredible benefits working in data analytics. And I really enjoy them, and I want to talk, and you both sound like you have experience already in data analytics. So you probably already discovered these benefits. Number one thing I would say, there's a shortcut connection with the higher ups. What I mean by that is data analysts, sometimes you are reporting to someone who is a manager or a director, right? And the director may report to a VP, and the VP may report to someone who is a C-level. And there are times, actually in my career, there are few times where the C-level directly reached down to me when there are so many layers between the C-level and myself. And because they knew or they learned about the actual person who was hands-on delivering the report or providing the analysis. And they wouldn't want to go to the VP and for the VP to ask director, for the director to ask manager. They just say, well, I know who made it, so I will just reach out to him. So it's a real benefit of you can connect to the higher ups. And a lot of times when we get to connect to the higher ups, it's easier to have a greater impact in the business, right? Because the higher ups, they, budget-wise or decision-wise, they have a greater impact to the business as a whole. And the other incredible benefits is if you embrace learning, then you have the opportunity to learn about different industries, different verticals, different subject areas. Just like what I mentioned, if you caught in the previous slide, I spent 2 years at Pericom MD. Basically, you can understand Pericom MD as a company that sells makeup. Okay, I am an Asian male. I'm not saying that Asian male wouldn't, apply makeups, but I don't apply makeups, at least not very often, or not having the complex regimen as I later learned from working at Pericom MD. Some of our customers, they have a very complex regimen from cleaning, from applying, this first layer and second layer and third layer, and maybe the third layer has to have the SPF, So these are things I never have background of. But when I get the job to work at that cosmetic industry, I have the opportunity to learn about these things. And I really enjoy that learning opportunities. And, after a while, after touching projects, and I listed here, actually, these are all the projects I had a chance to work on: cosmetic, energy, corporate finance, medical, retail, airlines, transportation, supply chain. These are subject areas that I may not have a degree of, right? In college, I didn't study these, but I have the chance to work on projects related to them. And guess what? The first thing I can get to do is to learn about these subjects. And so unless you are, you only love one industry. I know some people, they only want to work at healthcare. Okay, so then that's okay. You stay working at healthcare as a data analyst, that's fine. But if you really embrace the learning from different industries, then you can actually explore and learn about, all these different things, right? In tech or in or transportation, supply chain, retail. These are quite incredible learnings, at least for me. So if you like learnings, I see that as another incredible benefit. And okay, and here I would say one of the biggest challenge I have faced so far working in the industry is to realize the real need for the business. Okay, well, I talk about need to know, right? I mean, the previous slide talk about need to know. So what about, what am I talking about here? Real business need. Okay, so it's a bit abstract. So I'm going to give the following examples so that you understand what I am talking about here, realizing the real business need. Okay, so today is 2020. Okay, so 13 years ago, before iPhone was invented, no one knew what iPhone is like, what feature it may have, what functionality it will include, the convenience it's going to bring into our life. Okay, so that's 13 years ago. But nowadays, look at it today. Almost none of us cannot live without a smartphone. Okay, so iPhone, or we can say smartphone, becomes essential in our life. Well, who knew that? Who knew that that's something that we needed? 13 years ago, no one knew that was needed, or at least as a consumer, I didn't know I needed an iPhone. But now I cannot live without an iPhone. So there's a challenge working in data analytics in whatever companies, whatever verticals you're in, to figure out that iPhone. Okay, now this is still a little bit abstract, but what I'm talking about is if you are able to deliver something that maybe this is not the first couple of weeks when you go into a different job, right? If I go into this cosmetic company for 2 weeks, I will not be able to figure out the iPhone idea. But after I receive so many different requests from my colleagues, from my managers, then I will be able to try to figure out what is the real need that they're looking for. And if I can figure out that and make it happen, then guess what? They cannot live without me. Okay, we're talking about employment security, right? Maybe this applies more to Tim. So it's hard for them to let you go if you become essential, or the information you're providing becomes essential to them. And so this is what I sometimes would describe as the iPhone idea. In my current company, I currently am serving for corporate finance. And like I said, I did not have background in finance. After working for finance for more than a year, now I'm figuring out the iPhone idea I want to bring to life. So it was last week, I met with my supervisor and I told her, I say, hey, this is what I want to work on. And so she signed off on the first phase. I don't know if that's going to actually be possible to be done, but she signed off for the first phase and say, okay, here's my green light, go ahead and work on it. Now, if that comes out as an iPhone, if I hit it big, right, then that becomes essential. So imagine this, right, Leah or Tim, in your job, if you deliver something and then people will say, or the boss or the CEO will say, well, we cannot live without Leah because the information that she delivers is so valuable. And we're talking about a set thing. It's not just like in general way about, the good quality that you possess, but like an actual product that you deliver for the company. Great, so this is what I see as the biggest challenge. In whatever verticals I work in, I try to deliver this. And it's really good after, for example, after leaving Pericom MD for almost 2 years now, they are still using my iPhone product. So I really, appreciate that and seeing that they're still in it. Okay. So next I'll talk about this. And this is what I would say, kind of what I would describe as what kind of training the school offer you. And think of data analytics as a piece of land. right? So you try to dig in and try to find what's underneath it, or you are told there's something valuable, or there could be something valuable underneath the land. So what is the school training you, right? The school is usually training you for two things. The number one thing is really obvious, is training you how to use the digging tools. And now obviously we have pictures here, like shovel and these more powerful tools, but which is equivalent to Python, Excel, SQL, R, Tableau, these kind of what we can say analytics tool. School is teaching you how to use them and how to analyze data with them. So school sometimes at least teach you these. And I would say knowing how to use these tools probably is like the number one thing for any data analyst to get a job, right? Because a lot of times they want to know, okay, how well are you, are you using Excel, and if they have additional thing like, okay, what about Python, what about SQL? And then you will say, okay, I know a little bit, proficient here, excellent there, right? Now, the school usually doesn't miss this, but the real miss is school sometimes would not teach you where to dig and how deep to dig. And you say, okay, now this is also a little bit abstract, right? So where to dig and how deep to dig. This actually, and I would say it comes with some training. So a lot of times when people ask me, okay, so how can you be a data analyst? Besides the digging tool, if you have a really good mind that is trained with some critical thinking, you can be a history major from your college. You have, and possessing that critical thinking. You can be a psychology major, possessing that critical thinking. So the critical thinking may not have a strong correlation of, how well are you doing in math and sciences. It's the critical thinking that some people possess. Now, school may not be able to teach that because sometimes these things take time. And some of it will take the industry training in order for you to figure out, okay, this is where I should dig. And by the way, when I dig it, it's going to be big. It's going to have some valuables. And it takes some learning, right? If you dig in and you find the garbage, and you say, okay, well, next time, once I dig it in again, I'm going to hopefully find something that's more valuable than garbage. And now I have a question. Okay, so after so much talking about so many abstract things, we're going to switch a little gear. And we're going to talk about the following things. How many seats will you pre-sell? Okay, so we can do a little interaction here or not. It doesn't quite matter. So think about this question. How many economy class tickets will you sell before the day of the flight for a plane with 100 economy seats? Now this is, I don't know if this is a classic question, but this is one of the best questions I like to ask people in data analytics. So the choices are 80, 100, 120, right? Why don't you, let's use the chat function. Maybe all of us can give a value of how many seats will you sell before the date of the flight. Okay, that's okay. Okay, someone says,
I think it's 120.
Oh, you say 120. Oh, why do all of you say 120? Are you able to read my mind? Okay, keep that answer. Okay, so here I'm going to give you a little more information about this. Will you change your choice if no-show rate on average is 25%? So probably none of you will change your choice, right? Because if no-show rate is on average 25%, it really makes sense for you to sell 120, right? And by the way, we didn't talk about the objective here, but let's ignore that for now. And will you change your choice if the business first class on average has 20 vacancies? Okay, so I think none of you would change your choice because it makes sense. If, on average, if there's a no-show rate of 25%, then, if actually 120 people show up, we can still use this like a second insurance, right? The second insurance, okay, business class, first class, on average, will have the 20 vacant seats. But if I tell you this third piece of information, if on the date of the flight, 20 tickets can be sold on average over the counter with twice the price, then you may need to reconsider, well, if I can sell twice the price and I can sell 20 tickets on average over the counter on the date of the flight, I might as well just wait until the date of the flight and make it sell. And I double the revenue for at least 20% of my economy class seatings. So there are different things here that kind of will guide your decision to say, okay, should I only sell 80? Should I only sell 100 and 120? Now, obviously, there's also cash flow, right, playing here, and the interest rate, and how much can you make interest on. Now, if your CFO told you that the company is super low in cash, would that change your answer as well? Right? So, so it's quite complicated. A lot of times that data analysts, we cannot make decisions just based on what we see, but also based on what the higher ups may tell us. So what I would say, the learning I have, and which the following slides will also reiterate, is you want to be a boss and ask questions. And you want to ask questions that will eventually guide you and lead you to the decisions. Okay, so let's go on the next slide. How much discount to offer for BFCM? BFCM stands for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. This is the actual question my boss's boss asked me when I was working for that cosmetic company. BFCM is the biggest sale that we could make in the year, right? Just a few days from maybe starting with Thursday, or sometimes we start with Wednesday of the Thanksgiving week, and we extend it all the way through Cyber Monday. Now, how much discount to offer for BFCM? And I want to say that, by the way, all the examples I have here, I'm not showing you any details of how we figure out the final answer, but just some of the thinkings that we have behind how do we process figuring out the answers. Okay, so I think those are probably more valuable than showing the technical things, because you can learn the technical things in school, and I trust Professor Huang on that. Okay, so for example, so the first question we might ask is, how much is the budget and forecast? So how much do we need to make, right? So this is easy, and it makes sense. But then next we will ask, how will the customers respond to each discount rate? So if we go for 50% off, how will customer respond? If we go for 60% off, how will customer respond? Or 20% off, right? So you need to think about different discount rate and how customer will respond. Now, we don't only have one kind of customers. Maybe some customers, they will only buy at 50% discount rate. Some customer will buy at 20%. So we have to figure out different segments of the customer to make that decision as well. Okay, that will come a little later. And it says, what's the appropriate revenue to profit balance? So we don't want to just, sometimes the higher up will say, well, you give all the discount you want, but you have to hit this profit. You cannot compromise, or this is like the red zone. If you step over it, you're over, right? So then, okay, so maybe there's a little constraint there. Does one discount rate fit for all customers? That's what I talk about. And maybe not just discount rate. Sometimes you will see companies like, they will say, they will give you bundles, or they will give you, like, if you shop for $300, they will give you one product for free. So there are different ways to offer, quote unquote, the discount rate. And should we offer deeper discount to second, third, fourth advertisement, right? So some of you may have seen this. If you don't shop for something on a website, or after you go to the website, you put something in the cart, and you didn't complete the transaction, you may receive the second or third or fourth advertisement email asking you to, hey, come back, come back and make the transaction. And they may offer you a deeper discount. And that's what we are trying to figure out. Okay, if we're going to offer deeper discount, what's our base and how deep can we go? And then we will also ask this question, how many new and returning customers to expect? So these are very complex. I mean, it's easy to ask this question. And by the way, I really hate when people ask questions like this, because that means I have to do more work, right? I have to figure out, okay, now I need to figure out how many, what's the new and returning customer ratio. and how many should I expect, right? So new, returning, and I have to calculate, okay, how many customers already bought this year, who will return again for Black Friday and Cyber Monday, and how many new one will we expect? And new customers, how do we treat them? Because when they come to our website, they will see a discount rate. But when I reach out to a customer, I want to make sure it's more personalized, right? So how do I interact with returning customers? How do I offer the new customers? So these are a little bit different thinking. Okay, so these are kind of all to consider, right? When we were figuring it out Black Friday and Cyber Monday stuff. And obviously we also have some things, maybe not to put on the slide here. Sometimes we will ask, which product is about to expire, right? So, okay, do not record me on that. But anyway, so things like this, well, when I say products about to expire, usually it's like 6 months, okay? So it's not like it will expire next month. Usually we only sell products that still have the 6-month shelf life, just to be clear. Okay, and here's another one. And this one I was asked also. We missed the forecast by 50% last month. How to make it up this month? So this is a pretty tough situation, and probably a lot of companies nowadays in pandemic will ask this question also. How do we make up the revenue? We have a goal, we have an annual goal, and we probably missed the Memorial Day sale. And we also likely may miss the July 4th sale, right? How can we squeeze more revenue? How do we make it up? Later in the year, how do we do that? So some questions to consider, and at least that's our consideration back when we're trying to tackle this. And this was a real thing that happened. It was pretty brutal. My boss wasn't happy, right? And his boss wasn't happy. So we asked, what are the top 5 products that customer will buy at X price to generate Y revenue? And that's something that we have to figure out. If we lower it, will we generate more revenue? And how do we balance it? And also includes the previous question we have on the previous slide. And a question like this will also be helpful. Which segments of the customers are the best to squeeze additional revenue? Maybe they already bought recently, maybe they already bought last month. But from our data, can we have some prediction of showing, hey, these customers will actually transact again, okay? What will be our marketing strategy for them to buy? And finally, how many more new customers are needed to be acquired? So this is a question about if we're going to partner, right? So a lot of times in our job, we don't just make decisions for your own department. You have to communicate to other departments. So this third question is actually a communication back to the marketing department. Ask them, hey, we need, 50,000 more new customers this year so that we can reach our goal, or so that, the 50% miss of forecast can be made up. And so this is something to communicate and say, hey, do you have budget for that? Do you have budget to pay? Now, next one is something that, a question that I learned from LinkedIn. Maybe this is more suitable for Leah, because you say you were working on the marketing stuff, right? But I don't know if you are in digital marketing. When I was at LinkedIn, my team only have about 5 people. Okay, so 5 employees. And each month we're given $1.2 million. Okay, so $1,200,000 each month, every month to spend on the following things: SEM, display ads, social media, affiliates, influencers. So we have a lot of money, seriously, anyways, I never made that much in my life. But so how do we figure out? How do we figure out where do the money goes? So we ask the following questions: what's the lifetime value? And maybe the ROI per customer for each channel, right? What's the customer churn retention rate for each channel? And it's kind of related to the first question. And the last one: what's the maximum number of customers possible to acquire for each channel? And lastly, how much are the competitors bidding? How much are they spending? How can we compete with them, right? When I was at LinkedIn, we were pretty crazy. We spent approximately $150 to get 1 customer. And now you can know why we need $1.2 million. But the thing is, we have to make sure that even if we spend $150 on a person for that person to be our customer, we still make money, and the lifetime value still exceed $150. But how do we allocate revenue across all these digital marketing channels? Okay, so it's so now you get it. Now it's really the decision making, helping the person who's allocating this $1.2 million to figure out, okay, how do we make the decision and to have the best outcome. And so the next slide is just a few questions. I guess along the way, I just want to mention a few. How to decrease traffic congestion on the freeway. Both of you, Tim and Leah, you both are in Orange County. Is that right?
I'm in LA.
You're in LA, right? So yeah, this is a project actually I worked on. I almost forgot the freeway name. I want to say is it called Freeway
405?
Yes. Yeah, 405.
Terrible.
405 is terrible. So I actually, for my master's capstone project, that was what my group was working on. How do we decrease the traffic congestion on the freeway by adjusting the freeway light? Obviously, we didn't apply it, because if we apply it, the freeway will be so much better. But okay, and how do we predict and reduce the occurrence of accidents on the freeway, right? What condition do accidents occur? Now, all these data are available, and how do we predict, and how do we help decision making? And I also did a very interesting project on partnering with a medical school, how to predict blood culture test results to help physicians prescribe antibiotics medicines, and also how to predict companies' revenue in the next N years. So these are questions that kind of related to data analytics. And if you break it down to different steps and different questions, then we can tackle these in a way that will help the company to make decisions. Okay, because of time, I only have the chance to kind of just mention these few. And next, I want to talk a little bit of my thought, and also I want to hear your thought maybe of future of data analytics. So remember, I talked about that school will be training you how to use tools, right? But what school missed is school may not teach you where to dig and how to dig. Actually, that's exactly what machine learning could be learning today. Training the machines to know where to dig and how deep to dig to get the valuable informations. So machines, they know how to dig already, but then if they get trained on specific industries, specific verticals, specific subject areas, so then one day you just put in all your data in, you just plug it in, and the machines will be serving you as a data analyst. That will be really scary, and that might replace a lot of us working in this field. But hopefully that day won't come too soon. But at least this is my prediction of how the future might become. And actually, some companies already doing this. Tableau is doing this. So when you load your data set, raw data in, they will try to make you a dashboard. They will kind of know what pieces of information is important for you and what kind of trend you're looking for, and then they will present it right there. So then that kind of replace, maybe at least 40% of someone's job. So, and if that becomes even more powerful, we do need to be cautious if you're working in this field. And so, yes, okay, so I put that in parentheses. That means the machines are learning to ask the right questions like a boss. So they know what the right question to ask, and they know where to dig in to find that piece of information. And trust me, machines are pretty smart, okay? And this is why I want to get another master's degree. And I will show you my first paragraph of the personal statement. And maybe don't judge me on that. But the first sentence I said was, I don't want to be replaced by machines. This is the actual paragraph I sent into Georgia Tech, and later I got an offer from them. But this is the genuine, kind of the genuine aspiration, or you can say kind of what I see in the future. I don't want to be replaced by the machines, but I want to be in that process, right? If I'm going to train the machines to know how to dig and where to dig and how deep to dig, I like to be in that process instead of seeing that happen. And this is kind of, I want to talk about just using the remaining of the time, kind of my sweet spot working for business intelligence so far. This is kind of my roughly the distribution of my work on day-to-day basis on average. So I will spend about 45% on data requests from my coworkers, colleagues, managers, and then about 20% on meetings. And when I say meetings, it's really sometimes talking about exchanging ideas, right? Validating ideas to double check if the request is what people are looking for. And I would say the most enjoyable part is to spend that 35% on the iPhone idea. Okay, from what I previously told about. I mean, it's not like every day I can spend this 35%, but ideally, this is kind of the sweet spot I would embrace of my work if I have that additional time to spend on this something I think the long term is going to hit the real need of the business. Okay, so finally, just wrapping up a few points. I know I was talking a bit fast, so just a few takeaway points. I maybe you can grab it here or there. So we talk about nice to know versus need to know. I think that's quite valuable for myself in my career, and also appreciating or enjoying, valuing, right, that shortcut connection with the higher ups, and embracing the learning opportunities. Along the way, I really pick up different knowledge from different areas and really enjoy it. And it sounds, it kind of makes me sound pretty knowledgeable, but when you want to talk about, cosmetic, okay, I can talk to you about cosmetic. When you want to talk about energy, I can talk about energy with you. Freeway, I can talk about freeway with you. I don't know what else. Retail or finance, I can talk about finance with you. So the learning opportunities for data analytics is incredible. And discovering the real need, the iPhone idea I mentioned, and also where and how deep to dig. I think this could be a miss in many education, many training for data analytics. This critical thinking behind the scene needs to be trained. And also be a boss, ask questions. So ask the relevant questions or questions that would help you to dig deeper and get the information that you want to help making the decision. And finally, watch out the machines, right? So you have to make sure that one day we don't get replaced. So I really admire both of you, Tim and Leah. It sounds to me like you love continuing your education and continue learning. Maybe I think I heard from Leah is required by your company, but you're still here learning, right? So that's wonderful. Yes. And I think this is really something. Maybe the future will be quite a bit different if the machines are getting super powerful. Okay, so with that, I kind of will turn the last 10 minutes or so, actually less than 10 minutes. If any of you have questions, I would love to discuss them with you. And we have a very small number, so if you want to have any feedback also, I would love to hear them and to discuss with them. Or if you disagree with any of these, that's okay too, because some of you may have more experience in different areas than I do. Yeah, so thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Samuel.
You're welcome.
This is a fantastic talk.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yes, it's a good time to ask questions. It's not a one-way lecture. Let's ask some questions. To be from the we learned that to be a good top data analyst, we need to know how to ask good questions. So questions you have, feel free to ask. Or you may be interested in looking at the top one of the top the best company to work with, like a DocuSign, right? Samuel. Now you know Samuel, and if you are interested, you may submit your resume, and they could consider you to fit in a position. Is that possible, Samuel?
Yeah. If you find any opportunity there, maybe later on, I will send my contact info to Professor Huang, and he can circulate my contact information if you ever find something that you want me to refer you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so I do have a question. As you mentioned in one of your data-related discussions or questions, that sometimes when making data decisions, we need to talk to, say, for example, a marketing team to know about their feasibility and resources available to us. And do you have any pro tips for the times when we need to talk to a non-technical team or a not so data savvy role in the company? How do we talk to them in a way that we're as technical as possible, but still making sure that they understand what we're talking about?
Yeah, I don't know if I have any pro tips, but make it as simple as possible. That's what I would say. Because people, and this is a real skill set, right? You can have a PhD degree, but you can talk about your PhD thesis with an elementary school person. And that's an amazing skill set to possess. So I would say myself still learning that. Like the iPhone idea I talked about when I presented to my boss last week, the first thing that she said was, Samuel, this is way too complicated. If you're ever going to present this to the higher ups, make it simple and easier to digest. For her, it's okay to digest because she knows she has a bit more technical background. But for higher ups may not be able to digest that. So I don't think I have pro tips. I'm still learning and probably learning as you are also. But I kind of pick it up that make it as simple as possible. And one thing also is try to make it so simple that people will not be confused in any way. So that when you talk about something, maybe it's better just to have like one plain statement. For example, if you show a trend, besides letting people to interpret the trend, after you show it, make your statement bold and say, this is the result.
Okay.
Kind of like that, so that people will not be distracted from their own thought, own thinking. Some people, they work in marketing. They certainly don't have the technical backgrounds to understand a lot of these. But yeah, make it as simple as possible.
Great.
Sorry, I don't think I answered your question, but
No. I think those are like great suggestions because it happens when there is like a somewhat complicated visualization on the slide and people get distracted. So
right. Exactly. And this is why I don't know if both of you notice I try to not have anything technical in here, right, in my slide, because I want to make it so easy to digest, so that even if you don't have any data background, you might be able to understand most of this.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Very good.
So Samuel, I don't have any questions, but I do agree with you. The point you mentioned, like you make yourself essential, like make yourself critical to the business, understand the business need. I think from HR perspective, in any organizations, there are some positions that are more important than the others. Well, that's kind of the nature of the business. So how to make yourself like essential and have that kind of you will have the privilege to develop your career, I guess.
Yeah. I'm still learning on that front as well.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
No problem. Last August, my wife, she got a job in upstate New York. So we used to live in San Francisco area for a long time. And last August, she accepted a job in upstate New York. And so I told my company, hey, you know, my wife is moving and I am moving too. So, you know, if you want to keep me, then just let me continue to work for you. And the company basically say, okay, just go and work remotely from that on. So since last August, I moved to upstate New York. I have been working remotely for my team and my colleagues in San Francisco. All of them are based in San Francisco. So I still live in the Pacific time zone very much. Yeah. Yeah, so that sounds good. Like I said, I will ask Professor Huang to pass my contact information to you. And lastly, I do want to, you know, wish everyone to stay safe and stay healthy. My wife is a nurse in upstate New York, so she's definitely, you know, in the medical field. There's, you know, some challenges nowadays. But besides that, right? I don't know if your cities are under curfew orders, but if they are, or even not, right? I want to make, you know, hopefully, and wish all of you to stay safe and stay healthy during this interesting time for the country. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's my pleasure to. Yes. Let's do it. Go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you, Samuel. We really enjoy your talk. This is insightful, in-depth, and very informative. Just 1 minute conclusion. You know, from here we see that being a data analyst, or a data scientist, you know, we need to learn how not to be replaced by machines. And we learned the term machine learning. So in order not to be replaced, we need to do a lot of human learning. And from this, we also learned that not only to be able to present data in numerical and a graphical, good visualization, and so forth, we need to be able to do the type of thing like a storytelling that lead to optimal decision making, and that will set us apart or outstand us from all others in our career as a data scientist. And point from the talk that we also see that you know, mobilization or artificial intelligence is in the of the business analytics and intelligence. So this will and that the final application will be in our cell phones, or like a mobilization. In the end, people are able to do a lot of data analytics. What Samuel said, the initial analytics or analytics extent, or depending on how AI can go, and we can only say that it's growing stronger and stronger and faster in that area. So this is a time for us to continue to learn, and so that we won't be replaced by machines. But it's not going to happen anytime soon, but it may be happening in 3, 5, 10 years. So this is definitely, we're on the right track. Like we have a lot to learn from Samuel's pattern that he get 2 master degrees. Okay, is he still there? Maybe gone. Okay, okay, I appreciate your time. Sorry, we are over a few minutes. Okay, I look forward to maybe this is only time for talk we have, but hopefully this will be helpful. And I record this talk, so I'll send you the link so you can review it, and I will send you Samuel's contact information to you. All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you,
welcome.
Professor.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Samuel. Thank
Samuel.
you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Huang.
Thank you.
Okay.
See you. Bye. Thank you, Stella.
Bye.
Thank you.
Stay safe,
All right.
everybody.
Okay. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye.